Hello everybody, Lord Almighty here. Today is Sunday, October 26th, 2025, and I am on my way to a pond that I have never ever fished before. I've actually never even laid eyes on it, besides what I've seen on Google Earth. And I am hoping, since this pond is a little bit off the beaten path, it does not get a lot of fishing pressure. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a ton of fish in it, but that's what scouting is all about. So I am going to see if I can unlock this pond in an afternoon of fishing, and we will determine if it is worth putting into my regular rotation or if it's just going to be one and done. All right, we are just coming up to the pond right now. Let's see what we are dealing with. Oh wow, it is very weedy. It's weedy. Oh, look at that. I just spooked a fish right there. Okay, all right. That's actually a really good sign. But let's see, it's weedy pretty much all the way throughout, which means it's probably shallow all the way throughout. Shoreline access might be an issue, but we'll see what happens. So I brought my medium spinning gear with me today, which I think is a good choice when you're fishing a place that you know absolutely nothing about. You know, it's light enough so that you can throw smaller baits if you need to, but it's also heavy enough to deal with stuff like weeds or, hopefully, some big fish. So we will rig this up, obviously, with something weedless, and we'll see what we can get. All right, well, I am rigged up with a weedless fluke. I figure I can skate that over the tops of the weeds and drop it down into any holes in the weeds as well. And obviously, it shouldn't hang up in the weeds. There's really not many ways you can fish a weed-choked pond effectively unless you're using like a weedless Texas rig of some kind. So flukes, frogs, maybe a tube, and not much else. Like a hollow-bodied frog obviously would work, but yeah, options are somewhat limited. And there are a lot of weeds here. I mean, this is the very definition of weed-choked. This could be difficult, even with Texas rigged baits. But I mean, it's got potential. Obviously, with the weed growth, there's plenty of places for fish to hide. So it's conceivable that there could be a decent population of fish here. And I just have to keep casting and hope we can find a spot where I'm not going to be picking up weeds every cast. Well, I made it to this little back bay here where the weeds are not quite as dense, and that's good because if I hook a fish here, I'll have a much better chance of landing it. On the main pond, those weeds are so thick, I have no idea if I'd even be able to land a fish if I hooked it. If it got down in those weeds even a little bit, this medium weight was probably not going to have the backbone to get him out. And I've got braided line on this, but it's only 20-pound tests. If I were to come back here, I might bump it up to my heavy bait caster with the 50-pound test so I can rip fish out of these weeds. With the tackle I have now, it's definitely a little dicey. But I gotta hook a fish first. That's priority one. And then we'll see exactly how I'd be able to handle it. Well, I've been fishing for about half an hour, and my first impressions are not great. The weeds are a problem. It's definitely restricting what kind of presentations I can use in this place. I know that there's fish in here. I've seen a few fish swirling. They don't seem to be particularly big, but there are definitely fish. I don't know what they are. I'd imagine if this pond is anything like the other ponds in the area, there's probably bass and pickerel in here, probably sunfish. I don't know what else might be in here. But so far, nothing has wanted to bite the fluke. I don't know if it's just that they're too small, or this is not something that they would normally key in on. I would think, based on the lack of evidence of people, that not many people fish this place, which means that I would think just getting this lure in front of a fish would make them bite, since they'd be uneducated. But who knows? Maybe they only eat certain things in this pond, and this isn't one of them, or this doesn't look like one of them. But regardless, what I'm doing ain't working. But honestly, I don't know what else to do. I don't have a ton of lures that I can use to fish a weed-choked pond like this. Obviously, anything with exposed hooks is out of the question. So I'm kind of stuck with what I can do here. I'll keep plugging away for a while anyway. Hopefully I can make something happen here. I'll tell you another thing I don't like about this place is shoreline access is pretty limited. A lot of the shoreline's overgrown, and the shoreline itself is very swampy in places. So unless I were to go back and get my waterproof boots, couldn't really stand on a lot of this shoreline without getting water in my shoes. This nice cleared path only goes around maybe a quarter of the pond, and it looks like you wouldn't be able to access every last bit of it unless you did some heavy-duty bushwhacking. So I'll just have to keep seeing where I can wet a line in this place. I've been doing just about as much walking as I have casting. Well guys, as I feared, the vegetation is blocking my way around a lot of this pond. I was only able to access from about there to back there. You can see where that little cove starts right over there at that point, and it extends back maybe 100 yards. I was able to fish most of that, but like all this shoreline here along the other side going around this way, I can't get to it. The vegetation is just too thick. And this is, you know, we're in the middle of fall. A lot of the vegetation's already died back, and it's still too thick. So I can only imagine what this place looks like in the middle of summer when everything's in full bloom. And that's kind of a shame, because over on that side, it looks like there is a lot less vegetation, which might mean we have deeper water over there, or at least with the lack of vegetation, there's different lures I could fish. So, kind of stuck with this place. Kind of stuck fishing this really weed-choked water. And I don't know, I'm not getting good vibes from this place. I feel like if it was some kind of hidden gem, I'd have gotten some kind of action by now. You know, I'd at least have had a couple of fish come up through the weeds and try to get this thing, but I haven't had a sniff on this. So my opinion of this place is rapidly decreasing. All right, guys, I don't think I'm gonna waste any more time here. Yeah, I don't think this pond has got much going on. If I were to ever come back to this place, I think I would do it right after ice out. This is a shallow pond. It's got dark tannic water. It's got a dark bottom. So I would imagine that it is one of the first ponds that would start warming up in early spring. And maybe it makes a difference if there's not as much weed growth here. But the way it is now, I just don't see myself wanting to come back to this place. Seems like a waste of time. So I'm gonna see if I can't think of another place to go today. Sit tight and I will see you in a couple of seconds. Well, all right, everybody, here we are at the next spot. This is actually another spot that I have never fished before. Kind of the same deal, looks extremely weedy, pretty shallow on this end. Unlike that last pond though, this one is right out in the open. Got a busy road right behind me, so I would imagine that this pond probably gets at least some amount of fishing pressure. And we'll just see if that makes a difference. I'm gonna stick with the weedless fluke and hope that this pond treats me a little bit better than that last one. Well, I'll tell you what, right off the bat, I'm seeing a lot more fish activity in this pond than I was seeing in the other one. Again, don't look like anything big, but more fish is always a good sign. If there's more small fish, might mean that there's more big fish too. Well, I know I was complaining about access at that other pond. This one's got an even bigger access problem. So on that side, it's all houses and private property. And on this side, there is absolutely no way I'm finding a way through all that stuff. So I'm pretty much limited to what's along the road here. Not that I don't expect that there's fish on this side of the pond, but obviously, the more of a pond you can fish, better chance you have of catching something. All right, well, finally decided to make a lure change. I'm sticking with the weightless Texas rig, but I swapped out the fluke for a swim bait. Now this is a lighter bait, so I am going to sacrifice some casting distance, but I should be able to get it out there far enough. I mean, I have seen some action close in, so I don't think not being able to cast as far is going to make too much of a difference. Ooh! Oh, that was a hit for sure. All right, okay. We got some biters in here, that's good. Well, I fished around this entire shoreline here, and I just got that one hit. So, not looking too promising for this spot either. I am seeing a lot of fish swirling. I think most of them are small, but there have been a couple of decent sized wakes. I don't know what they were. They could have just been big sunfish, but There's not just dinks in here. I've been skipping the swim bait under this bridge here. This is actually probably the best looking spot I've seen so far today. It's got current, it's got a little bit of depth. I thought for sure there'd be something in here, but I haven't gotten any bites. Oh, here comes the cavalry. It is goose migration season, so they're even more annoying than usual this time of year. Well, that outflow I was fishing leads to this little spillway here, so I decided to go with a 1-inch gulp minnow under a float to see if there's not even like a sunfish under here or something. This is a lot lighter than I intended to go today, but gotta improvise. Wow, not even the 1-inch gulp minnow is getting any love. I'm starting to think it might not be in the cards today, guys. Either that or there's just not many catchable fish in these ponds I've been fishing today. Well, I tried one last ditch effort with the Wacky Rig Senko and nothing. So I think that's going to be the end of my day. Final tally, 2 ponds, 1 hit, 0 catches. Not exactly a great day of fishing, but we learned today. And that's what you should try to do every time you go fishing, is learn something. Even if it's learning where not to fish. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you on the next adventure.